How to build better takt, steering, and control. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the companion concept of takt, steering, and control as it attaches to takt planning. And I'm also going to talk to you about how you as a lean implementer or a lean integrator can help your train of trades flow through a project, how you can literally deal with constraints and roadblocks, absorb delays, and make sure that you're maintaining flow throughout construction in the field. If you're interested in that, you've come to the right place. Let's go. All right, everybody, this is my jam. I love this topic, takt, steering, and control. Let me talk to you about the titles and the terms here real quick. Takt is a German word for rhythm or baton. It's an older word. It basically indicates a rhythm. And so if I told you on a construction project that we take a building and we break it up into zones, you'd probably say, yeah, Jason, that's right. And if I said, hey, we line up in sequence trade partners to run through those zones in a sequence, and if I asked if that was right, you would say, yeah, that's right. And then what we realize from a production standpoint is that then if we actually go on a good rhythm, that we will have flow. We'll ultimately have flow. So this is crucial to lean construction management, okay? So takt planning is where you plan for that flow. Takt steering and control is where you steer the train of trades through the project and control the environment. So here's how I want you to envision this. Takt planning is where you plan the system, but takt steering is where you take that sequence of trades in a train is what we call them, and we steer that through the project. That means that you're designing the configuration of the zones, which are your train tracks, and you're designing the configuration of the trade partners in equal wagons, okay? So leveled wagons, leveled zones, steering around constraints. So when we hear takt steering, we're associating takt steering with constraints. When you hear the word takt control, what I'm talking about is the control of the environment. That means the removal of roadblocks out ahead of the train. So there are two separate things. Takt steering is the adjusting of system parameters within the train and the tracks for ultimate flow, constraints, and the clearing of roadblocks out ahead of that train on the tracks, which is the controlling of the environment, or the removing of roadblocks, right? So that's why I associate roadblocks with takt control. There are those in the industry that are doing great work that will only reference takt planning or takt planning takt control or a number of different variations of those words together. But really the definition is takt planning, steering of the train, and control of the environment out in the field. So let me hit you with a couple of concepts, and if I do it right and you love it, please like and subscribe to this video because I think you're going to love it. So let's first talk about constraints. In the book The Goal by Eliyahu Goldratt, or Eli Goldratt, he talks about how in a manufacturing system there will always be a system constraint, a limiting factor, a bottleneck that is holding you up, okay? In construction, where we find constraints are in the train, the trades, and in the tracks. So the train and the tracks, the trades, the zones. So constraints you can't get rid of entirely. They're permanent or semi-permanent things that you can adjust, like train speed, zone size, takt time, crew composition, how you configure the zone boundaries, right? You can't get rid of a zone boundary. You can't get rid of a resource. You can't get rid of a takt time. You can't get rid of a zone, right? These are constraints. So by adjusting zone boundaries, adjusting crew composition, adjusting takt time, adjusting these system parameters, you can create more flow. Inside your system of your train tracks or your zones, inside your system of your actual trades or your train, you will have limiting factors, bottlenecks. So let's say that you have a complex zone. That might be your bottleneck. Let's say you have a trade that takes too long in reference to the other ones. That might be your limiting factor. What you need to know is that they're a constraint and that you can adjust them and that they are the pace setters for your train of trades going through your project. Now let's talk about, secondly, roadblocks. Roadblocks are things out ahead. These are things like weather or a physical piece of a material that's in your way, a zone that's not ready, information that's not cleared out ahead, something that's in the way of the train. I like to think of it like a cow or a boulder on the train track. Or have you ever seen in those old movies where somebody blows up the train tracks? There's a break in the train tracks and you've got to piece it together, right? Or conditions like weather or rain or snow that the train will hit as they're going down the tracks. These are roadblocks, and these are specific to foremen. The constraints were specific to the supers and PMs and the system designers. Roadblocks are specific to the foreman. That's why I like to separate the two out. So in Takt Steering and Control, we learn what it's like to steer a train of trades through the project and what constraints can affect it, and the PM and the super adjust those. In the field with the foreman, once the system is designed, we understand what roadblocks could be in the way of the train, and we encourage and teach and help trade partners and the foreman to remove those out of the way, okay? That is all found in the meeting system number 3. The meeting system is where, after the strategic planning and procurement meeting where you build your master plan and your procurement log, you then plan in the Trade Partner Weekly Tactical, the pull plan, the look-ahead plan, and the weekly work plan to really look ahead and clear the way for those roadblocks. Then, that enables you with that weekly work plan to do the daily afternoon foreman huddle, where on a daily basis, you're making a plan for the next day, looking for roadblocks, clearing the way, and executing the plan, okay? Then you're able to communicate that in a worker huddle, okay? In that worker huddle, that's where everybody sees the plan together and they go to work for that day. At any point in these meetings, in the meeting system, if you find constraints, the team takes those and fixes and adjusts them. If the team sees roadblocks in these meeting systems, the trade partners, the last planners, identify, discuss, and solve them. That's how you make flow. You don't rush and push and panic. You prepare the way ahead by identifying, discussing, and solving roadblocks before they impact your train of trades, okay? That is how it works. Once your meeting system is done and everybody knows what to do, you implement in the field what's called zone control. Your zone is the actual physical boundary within a takt time that allows you to see your flow, see deviations real time in the field, and make improvements with the foreman boots on the ground. It's absolutely fantastic. So zone control is where you go to the different zones inside your project where you have handoffs and you're helping trade partners to plan ahead and finish behind them as they go. It's absolutely fantastic. This is called zone control and one of the most important things when it comes to creating flow in the field. By this point, you should be able to prevent most variation, most constraints can be adjusted, most roadblocks can be removed, but every now and then you'll have a delay. And in the Takt Steering and Control method, you have ways to absorb those delays. You can either interrupt the takt time and eat into a buffer, interrupt the sequence and eat into a buffer. You can use workable backlog resources to recover within the wagon. You can switch the sequence around if the procurement and the actual dependencies allow it. You can detach the wagon from the takt plan. You can detach the area from the zone maps. You can rezone after your initial pass, your initial zoning strategy. You can rezone and narrow your overall phase. There are many ways inside of the Takt production system where you can actually overcome impacts by eating into a buffer and absorbing those delays and logically, without ever hurting trades, absorb the impact. And if you pair that system with key components that will help you to keep your trade partners accountable, measuring certain KPIs, and you constantly improve the system, you will have a flowable system in the field. Because, and let me just go through this, you know what constraints are affecting your system, you know what roadblocks are in your way, you're seeing those things in the meeting system, you're helping to create flow, boots on the ground with zone control, you're absorbing delays without hurting trade partners and getting into a productivity spiral. Foremen are held accountable to the system so there is no dissension. You're tracking real KPIs KPIs that make a difference, and the system is improving because you're using all of this real-time data to improve. So if you hear the word Takt Planning, that means lean construction planning. If you hear Takt Steering and Control, that means we have a better way to manage that train of trades through the project by steering them, and we have a better way to control the environment with the foreman so that the train is never impacted. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Takt Steering and Control. And we, by the time this video comes out, will have a new book called Takt Steering and Control on Amazon, which I highly recommend you purchase. We'll put the link in the description below, in addition to the book Takt Planning and the First Planner System, which will help you to do this in the field. I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.